And I'm recording again. Okay, so I'll do the introduction. This is Leonard Witt, who is a professor at Kennesaw State, and I'm a big fan of yours in general, particularly representative journalism, which you started talking about, and I was hoping you could tell me again real quick about representative journalism and what it is.
Well, representative journalism, if there's a community of interest or a geographic community where the folks aren't getting the news and information they want to cover their issue, we will help them get a journalist on the scene, editing, basically be a full-service hub for everything they need to get a journalist to cover their issue. All they have to do is come up with a community who wants that journalist, and then eventually that community and our group will try and figure out a way to finance that.
Okay, so you're looking at the business model of things.
We're looking at providing the journalist, but it has to get paid for. So the question that we haven't really solved yet is, are there communities around who will pay enough money or help fund in some way a journalist so the journalist can make a decent living, you know?
And I mean, one thing I particularly like about it is you have thought of a title, representative journalism, which really does capture in two words the sort of the essence of what it is that you're trying to get at. How did you come about with this idea? How long has it been brewing in your head?
You know, I'm trying to think of when it actually percolated, but I've been thinking of, for a long time, of civic journalism, citizen journalism, getting journalists to reach out to the people. And then I started noticing that advertising was disappearing, as everyone has noticed, and that newspapers are shrinking, and I thought, where's the journalism going to be, you know? What's going to happen? You know, my question that I often ask is, what will journalism be like when only the journalism is left? In other words, when there's no more advertising support. Now, about 80% of all journalism is paid for by advertising. And that's going to disappear. So what kind of model can we have to provide great journalism? And then I thought, well, we could do it almost like old-fashioned beats, but the people would decide what beat they wanted covered. And if they wanted it covered and they found value in it, they would pay for it. Just like if I want a haircut, when I had hair, I had to go out and get somebody to, you know, cut it, and I had to pay them.
All right, so here's the last question. And I mean, in general, you know, we've talked. I agree with the theory of it, and I like it. But I'm gonna play devil's advocate.
Go ahead.
Because I think it should be played.
Right.
And I'd like to hear also from you what's if you've heard any other hardcore criticisms of this idea. But one that keeps coming up to me whenever I think about it is just the very, you know, the first thing that comes to your mind is, oh, you're gonna end up having people buying journalism, and as a result, it's gonna not be trustworthy, right? The money's gonna be dirty.
Right.
So what's the quick response to that?
Well, a quick response to it is the community will have input like they don't have now. We are not going to just throw an electronic newspaper on their doorstep. But, you know, one of my partners in this is Chris Peck, and he's the editor of the Memphis Commercial Appeal. And Chris is going to make sure that when push comes to shove and the journalist writes something that the community doesn't like, that journalist is going to be protected. In other words, we are not going to do PR. We're going to tell people up front, you want journalists and you want news and information, that's what we're going to give you. If you want PR, go somewhere else. We guarantee you're going to write something that gets you angry. But you have to make up your mind whether you want journalism that sometimes gets you angry or no journalism at all. That's kind of our pitch. Is it going to be that easy? No. Is there going to be all kind of problems? Yes. But our fundamental goal is high quality, ethical journalism, and we're not going to compromise on that.
And I'm curious, have you heard any other harsher criticisms than what I mean, that's the one that always comes up whenever I think about this.
I think the biggest criticism is that you're not going to get 1,000 people to pay for anything.
Why
are we going to get, you know, and if we want, let's just say we want a journalist, a really good journalist would cost you like $1,000 a year. I mean, $100,000 a year. And if that was 1,000 people, that would be $100 each. Is that too much? I don't know. Other people say you're doing it wrong. Think of 10,000 people giving $10 each. That might work well too. So we got to kind of figure it out. One thing I do know is a newsroom for a city of 100 people in a newsroom is about a $10 million a year operation. That is not a lot of money considering how much other money newspapers pay for other things like limousines for their executives, pay and everything else. If you just came down to the journalism, nothing else, just the journalism is left, it's going to be less expensive than a lot of people think. Although it will be expensive, and so people have to make up their mind whether they want journalism. We're going to give them the opportunity to sort of have journalism, the kind of journalism they want, and the request from them is to pay for it. We're going to help. We're going to go to community foundations. We're going to talk to local universities, any kind of aid we can get for them. We're going to try and find. But it's going to be up to that community to decide, yeah, we find journalism, that we think that journalism is valuable, and we understand that things of value cost money. But then we have to produce valuable journalism.
Right.
You know? Okay.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Len. Well,
okay. And we're going to turn to you one of these days to find the economic, sort of model for this. And
I hope so.
we think you have it. All right. Thanks.
All right. I don't know how to turn this off. Thank you.